Well, hello my friends, Alfretardo, and I'm back again. And I come out, the first thing I do is look, alright, let's see where am I going to turn today, or what interests me. Well, found literally a fire log. It's been burned. And it's firewood. It's that fat wood that I used just recently. So I'm going to be making a vase out of this one. First, cut it down a little bit, tame it as I said last time, and then see what's hiding inside. So I want to be able to take as much as I can on this end over here. To create a tenon and then flip it over and see how it's going to behave from the other side. So this is really off balance on this side, as you can see, but that's where I have to take the most of the wood, so therefore I have it that as the furthest towards me. So let me go in here and see what I can do to bring this down to weight. And all I have to focus on is getting the weight off this belly right here. It's a little wobbly. The speed is going at 500 RPM. Whenever you get slippage like that, a little catch that will make it slip, it's because your spur drive is eating into the wood like a drill bit. So don't panic, keep your tool in place until you stop the lathe. It's safer than pulling it out or panicking. Panic is never a good thing on a lathe. Even if a tenon is not the prettiest of tenons, at that point you can turn it around and mount it up in a better way. So now I can come up to this point over here. I'm not going to pass up this area because I don't want to interrupt this. I want to keep this as natural as possible. So if you know me, I try to see what elements the wood has before I decide to take it off and see how I like it, basically. So I'll have a little bit of this burned hole in here, which will show through, or I could do an epoxy fill, which I don't have any. Okay, so I don't have epoxy fill. And the point is, there are so many things that you can do, so many products you can use, and they might not be traditional, or they might not be what somebody else might use, but that does not mean that that's not what I can use. So I have some JB weld, and that's going to be the filler on this. So it will be a little bit of iron per se. On this, and I filled up with some wood underneath to save a little bit on this material, so I'm not filling the whole void with this. Trick to it is making sure, without going crazy, without going with a scale or anything like that, but put the same amount of the two parts. So I put them side by side so I can compare. If I put one on the top of the other, then there's no way to see how much of one versus I have from the other. Now if you use the whole tube, well, then you use the whole tube. You don't have to worry about it. But I'm not using the whole tube. I believe I got plenty over there, and the piles look to be about the same size, so I should be good. Now this stuff is pretty tacky and pretty rigid. Mix it up well so it's not streaked. And this you have maybe 5 minutes working time. kind of let it spread out on its own. Don't force it. Well, I guess I missed the showing of that. I spread it in, and I have topped it up with sawdust, both the red from yesterday, which was from the crab apple, and some of this yellow stuff mix that's here over the top, and packed it in. Not too much, so it doesn't gush out the epoxy that's underneath it, because it's still soft. And then to top it off, so when we get lost, it would fill in and it would not leave me voids in between. A little bit of CA on the top for grabbing the dust that did not mix in with the epoxy. Once this dries up and cures, I'll true this up, sand this, and this is ready to go. And the shape is going to be good because it's going to come, the final shape will end up being here, down around this, coming up over here, back down into this part over here, leaving a lot of this natural stuff. It will capture somewhere up here again and follow through, because this is almost parallel with the angle of the cut. So is this. As you can see, I'm hitting here and here. So once I start truing it up, I may be just inside of this crevice over here and following up. By the time I get here, I might, no, I'll be catching a little bit of this cut area, unless I alter it a little bit by still shifting it this way a little bit more. Okay, I'm back. It's been about half an hour, and I think that's good to cut. So I got sawdust, this gray epoxy, and I gotta take off a little bit more. I gotta get to this backside as well. I must say that looks pretty good. You can see this really, really gunks up. It's not a very forgiving wood to sand because of all the resin in it. Now I'm going to try to scrape that in there a little bit. Get rid of some of these ridge lines which I will never be able to sand out. So I'm going to go with this gouge in there. Time to apply some Yorkshire grit, and this wood, I mean, it's not absorbent, so this wood is not absorbent, so it's not going to pop as much because it's really not going to penetrate, but it will still liven it up significantly. So whatever I do here is not going to be deep into the fibers. It will be just enough to make it come alive a little bit. It will take any of the grayish spots to it from the sanding and all that stuff as well. Even though the sanding, like I said, I mean, you know, this thing just cakes up. It really cannot sand. You could probably sand it with an oil by applying a little bit of a wet sanding with an oil base, I guess. That would give you a little bit more sanding. But you really have to rely, with this, you really have to rely on your cut, your scrapes, whatever you can do to make it as good as possible, because you're not going to be able to do a lot to the sanding. And this, again, is a vase with a twist. And the finish is going to be Obi Shanjus. But then again, I probably didn't have to say that, huh? You probably knew it. Because, again, it's economical. It's easy to mix. When you buy the quart cans, it goes a long ways. So it's not something you use it and it's like, oh my God, this thing is going down so quickly. No, it lasts a while. So, in the bark, well, I shouldn't call this bark, but in this area over here, I will apply some lacquer with a brush and brush it up. I might as well apply lacquer on the inside as well. beautiful wood grains. Now, should have I done this? I mean, should I have eliminated that? You know, it's intentional. Whatever is there is there. It's going to stay for a long time. So now, unfortunately, no way to really get inside and sand it. So sanding on the inside will never look as good as the outside. And when I do this, and because the lacquer is so much shinier than the OB Shine Juice at this time, I'll wipe it down as well. Wipe it down, any excess that I got on the piece itself, and just let whatever wants to stay, stays. Just enough for it to come to life. And here it is. I love this stuff. Literally. You know, I don't like tooting my own horn. As a matter of fact, I really don't like it. But I must say, this really is beautiful. With this coming all the way from down here. And if you take all this stuff away, you really taken all the beauty. Now this was not an enhancement that I was looking forward to, but it works with the black coming from the top rim back to down here, and it's got a couple of little pits to let you know that it was an imperfection that you worked, or you don't know. You know, you really don't know how in the world this got like this. So this is a bowl or a vase of mystery. And that's just beautiful. Now I could literally go in here and part this out, but I don't want to take anything from its length. As it is, it's not all that long. It's not that long at all. So I will I'll mount it up and finish up the bottom. I keep this around all the time, even though this one is freshly made, because I lost one down there somewhere. But you know, it really, you got something that works for you. You keep it. You know, it doesn't take any room. It's a nice little piece to have around. If I'm close, which I am, then I don't have to worry about it any longer. It's just get in there, cut it up with the best tool, and don't put much pressure. Just go in nice and easy. And of course do a concave. Well, I gotta say, yes, if you hear excitement, it's because I am excited. Monotone excited. Anyway, it's a piece of that fat wood fire starter. Heart pine, I believe. And this one was a vase. I think it's the first vase I've done out of this piece of wood. And really, really is a beautiful, beautiful piece of wood. It, not comparing it to it, but it reminds me a little bit of a wood that I never get, which is yew, for its patterns and grain and the way it goes. Now yew is definitely much more enhanced wood than this, but this in itself is beautiful. What the real beauty though is when you get stuff like this. This was actually torched. It was black. It was rescued from a fire pit at some time. And I remember finding this in the woods in my backyard. It was buried on the ground, and there was only a small amount of it. All charred. This is not the full indication of it, but all charred. And so it had caught fire, and because it's not a fast burner, apparently it was extinguished. So the top black that you see here was actually from the fire itself. And you have it going through. This is what excites me when it comes to wood turning. The filler looks pretty good too. And the filler, if you did not see it, you would not believe it. But JB Weld, which is a two-part epoxy, used for all kinds of repairs, especially on metal. I used this on my pulley not too long ago to repair, to actually build up the pulley. And it held up for a long period of time. So I can only imagine how long it's going to last. If this wood can last 1,000 years, which it can, it really can, this most likely will last just as long. It doesn't smell like it normally would because of the chemicals I put. I finished it with OB shine juice on the outside, and the inside I did the lacquer and really wiped it down. And I can never get you a good picture of the inside. But anyway, trust me, it looks good. I should point out, this wood is always translucent. Okay, I know that this is probably not a fair look, but you can see light through it. Trust me, that's not the glow of the thing. You can literally see through it. See this red going through here? It's a translucent wood. There we go for today, that's it. I've done quite a bit of turning over the last 2 weeks, I guess. So, making up for some lost time. And this, you know, this is going on a lathe, and this is going to be just as amazing character with what's going on for you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again on the next turning. Go inside, take some pictures, post it to Facebook, which are the first people that gets to see my works. See how people are reacting to it, and at the same time be editing the video to post up. And generally I can post if I really get busy on the edit, which takes quite a while. Editing is the hard part, but turning is easy. Presenting, cutting it down to a reasonable length, which I don't do very well. I know some of you must think that when I invite you to come and watch, you must be to the movies because it's long enough. Trust me, I could make it longer than almost a movie, because if it takes me 3 hours to turn something, or 4 hours, in some cases even longer, I could technically make the video that long. I'll stick with the half hour to the hour mark on occasion, or once in a while split the videos. I don't necessarily like splitting videos. I'd rather show it in one shot, and those that want to see the whole thing, you watch the whole thing. Those that do not want to see the whole thing, watch the beginning, watch the end. You might miss what I have to say in between, but then again, not everything I say needs to be heard. But those of you that like to hear what I have to say, thank you. And thank you for subscribing, and thank you for your comments. And I know that you'll be back. I'll be back. Bake